Retro.
And welcome everybody to a special episode of the Animanicast.
Hello, genius people! Yakko Warner here. The only show we listen to in the water tower is the Animanicast. I bet you can't guess why. Good night, everybody!
Welcome everybody once again to the Animanicast. This is the podcast that is dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs, as well as other shows in the Rugerverse, such as Tiny Toon Adventures, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid. And here we talk about, well, every episode of the series. We talk about all the cultural references and gags, and of course, in the end, we give every episode a Water Tower rating. Today we've got a special episode. I am all by myself for this intro because we are going to be talking about the Animaniacs voice actors' appearance at Wizard World. I am Joey, and Nathan and Kelly are not here, and well, let me just get right into our discussion and intro to this special episode. Recently, Wizard World held a virtual panel featuring Rob Paulsen, Tress MacNeille, Jess, Harnell, and Maurice LaMarche. And it was a really fantastic panel, hosted by Mike over at Wizard World. And I gotta say that, you know, as fun as it was to watch that panel, we were lucky enough to actually discuss it with Mike and some other guests with a virtual rewatch party. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you folks today, is the virtual rewatch party. It was a real blast. Mike was there, who was the moderator for the original panel, which you can still find on YouTube. Jazz from Wizard World was also there, and we met some other folks for the first time. We had Malcolm from Fandoms Anonymous and Seth from the Hall of Justice podcast. And we were lucky enough to be brought on to talk about our love of the show and a little bit about our podcast, but also just about what the voice actors talked about, and specifically some highlights. So I hope you enjoyed the audio from this. You can actually also see the video of it on YouTube as well. We'll have the link to that embedded over on the show posting for this over at animanicast.com. So feel free to check that out. But there are some other things I wanted to make sure I noted as well. Little bits of, heads up, some news. And I think the main thing I wanted to point out that everyone check out is it's a short story. It's a send up to Green Eggs and Ham, and it was written by our friend and the creator of Animaniacs, Tom Ruegger. It's Will You Wear a Mask, I Ask? And it has been put up on YouTube and read by none other than Luke Skywalker himself. That's right, Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is reading this book, and it is fantastic. So I really suggest that you all, number one, absolutely wear a mask, I ask. But number two, go and watch this video. It is on YouTube. You can easily find it by just typing on YouTube, wear a mask and Mark Hamill, and you'll be able to find it very easily. Check out the video and share it with your friends, because we want to make sure the video goes viral, not like the virus itself, but, go viral as in lots of people seeing it. And it's a funny video. It's a great, cute story with a great message that we should, be wearing a mask. Let's mask up, and let's not make it's not a political issue or anything like that. It's about public health. So let's all do it. Wear a mask and watch that video. Wear a mask, I ask. And narrated by Mark Hamill. There's also just a little bit of kind of news in the area of Animaniacs, and that is that Warner Brothers Animation posted a little ad on their LinkedIn saying that they're looking for a production manager with 3 to 5 years of work experience, with experience with shot production, lighting, compositing, and color styling. And some people are kind of wondering, is that for the second season? coming up? Or could they be working on the third season? And I don't know. We'll see if we could reach out to some of our contacts and find out. But it's just kind of an interesting note that production continues to happen on the reboot. And so whether it's more stuff for season 2 or possibly even getting started on season 3, we should know someday. With that, let me go ahead and get to some contact information for Nathan and Kelly. You can find Kelly over at Yoda Princess on Twitter, YODAPRNCSS, and Nathan is Django FT. That's him on Twitter. As for the Animanicast, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and yeah. You can talk about this panel rewatch, I suppose, over at our Discord channel, discord.animanicast.com. A great place with great folks over there with the Retro Zap folks. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/Animanicast. And we have a brand new episode that's just been put out, a creator's commentary, and that is a commentary of episode 4 of Animaniacs, which of course has the segments Hooked on a Ceiling and Good Feathers, the beginning. Some really fun commentary, interesting stuff from Tom Ruegger, the creator of Animaniacs. So check it out, patreon.com/Animanicast. There's a bunch of different levels that you might be interested in, and we appreciate those patrons' support. All right, well, I think I've babbled enough. Let's go ahead and get right on over to our panel audio from Wizard World, and thank you once again to Mike and Jazz from Wizard World for inviting us on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to Wizard World Virtual Experiences as the crowd emojis wildly. You can also applaud. Yeah, there we go, Malcolm. Thanks for the applause. I appreciate that. But show us your love. Show us you're paying attention and listening by throwing those emoji buttons in there. You can tag them on Twitch. You can hit that like button on Facebook or throw a bunch of exclamation points in the chat on YouTube. We are streaming to you completely free and completely live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch to the comfort and safety of your home, bringing you these free panels. Obviously, we have the celeb Q&As on the weekend, and then during the week, we bring some of our favorite fans out to rewatch our favorite panels with Wizard World Rewatch Wednesdays. We bring all our favorite podcasters, bloggers, YouTubers. You're seeing them all on screen right now, and they are joining me, Mike G, your host for tonight, for a special rewatch of the Animaniacs panel from the past weekend. Oh man, this was amazing. I had the distinct pleasure and to host a Q&A with Jess, Harnell, Maurice, LaMarche, Rob Paulsen, and Tress MacNeille of Wacko, Yakko, Dot, and Pinky and the Brain fame, among so many other countless works that they've done in the voiceover career. But we talked specifically about Animaniacs and the reboot, and I'm excited to talk to my fellow nerds and geeks on the call. If you're watching at home, I see Aaron Glover's already in the chat, watching from Hillsboro. Go ahead and shout out where you're watching from. If you're watching from Oregon, like Aaron, and where Jazz is right now, or whatever state or country you're watching from, throw it in the chat, and we'll give you a shout out. Mac is watching as well on YouTube. Tiana checking in. But let's introduce our guests. We got a big panel tonight, everybody. I love this. That just shows how big a fandom Animaniacs has. And so I'm so excited to have you here. We have some of our regulars plus some new favorites on the lineup tonight. Let's start off. She is our director of social media. Jazz, welcome to the
Hi, thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Oh, we got some applause. He is the host of the Hall of Justice podcast and frequent Wizard World moderator. Let's hear it for Seth Everett, everybody. Seth. Thank you for having me. Another Wizard World moderator. He's also done a ton of content for us, specifically at Wizard World New Orleans, but then also online. He is co-founder and CEO of Fandoms Anonymous, Malcolm T. Banks down there. What's up, Malcolm? That's you. And then you thought Yakko, Wacko, and Dot were cool. How about Nathan, Kelly, and Joey? They reached out to us. They have a weekly podcast called Animanicast. They're going to tell us a little bit more about that. Give it for Joey, Nathan, and Kelly. Let us see who else is joining us in the chat. We have folks watching from Texas, Manhattan in the house, Minnesota, Illinois, a bunch of folks, Tennessee, also watching. Albert is King Garza just said, we're zany to the max. I think we can say that about all of the fans of Animaniacs. I want to just start, obviously, we all love the show, both the original and the reboot. But I love to hear sort of everyone's personal stories, kind of how they came to Animaniacs, why they're fans, and why they're excited to be here tonight chatting about it and nerding out about it. Let's just go in the order I introduced you. Jazz, tell us about your Animaniacs fandom.
Well, actually, so I would say Rob Paulsen's what brought me into it, because I was always a big Turtle fan from back in the day. Ooh, yeah. So I heard he was involved in this, and that's what brought me into it. And, you know, I've got to give it to Pinky and the Brain. They're probably my two favorites in the whole series. I can't explain it. It just is. So.
Agreed. And they had their own spinoff show back in the day when they tried to bring Animaniacs to late night TV or prime time, maybe primetime TV, not late night TV. It wasn't, Cinemax after dark. Yeah,
it's a little blue.
It's a little blue with Pinky and the Brain. Although now we're all thinking in our head. Now we're all like writing that episode. We're like, what's the dirty, dark? Because they toe the line. They toe the line sometimes, especially back in the day. Seth, tell us about your love for the show.
Sophomore year, Syracuse University. My roommate loved it, and he had pot. And we used to get high and watch this show in the middle of the night. And it was the greatest thing in the world. The lines were the greatest. And the best line of Animaniacs ever is when they're playing detectives and Yakko tells Dot to look for fingerprints. And she goes, fingerprints? I don't think so.
See, there it is. There's the innuendo.
Animaniacs.
There's the late night. Oh man, and I thought my polka dot was the funniest dot pun, but finger, that's but fingerprints, nice. Malcolm, tell us about your love for the series. I know you love a lot of the animated series as well and have been on with us, but talk specifically about Animaniacs, obviously.
Absolutely, man. I'm a 90s kid, so that's a big 90s thing, so I'll definitely watch Animaniacs. And fun note, I marched in the band at Alabama State University, and I played the tuba, and one of our fanfares was the Pinky and the Brain theme song.
That is sweet. There's probably a lot of tuba in that. There's a lot of low brass there. Yeah. That's hilarious. That's fun.
Is there a video of that, though? That's the question.
There is. I'll email it to you. I'll get you the email from Mike and we'll do the sending.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
A lot of people already check it in. Tiana says, love Animanicast. So obviously you've got a listener tuning in right now, which is super.
Our one listener.
Yes. Perfect. It adds to our 35 viewers right now. So there we go. We exponentially grew by, I don't know what that math is. But they're here. Also, Serengne, and I'm butchering her name, I promise. Serengne Nias says, Rob Paulsen's amazing. Met him at New York Comic Con in 2017. And asked if we remember the show Tiny Toon Adventures. Of course. Remember Absolutely. Tiny Toon Adventures. Yeah. But anyway, let's segue to our special guest for tonight. They reached out. They have a whole podcast about Animaniacs. We're just going to barely scratch the surface tonight. But Joey, why don't you kick us off? Tell everybody about the inception of this podcast, how it started, and your other guests here with you, and then we'll hear from them as well.
Well, it started back in 2016, actually. Animaniacs was about to hit Netflix, and we were, I was excited about it. And for years, I'd always wanted to do a podcast about something. And I thought, well, how about Animanicast? Because I like the name. I think it's funny. I always like puns. You got to be a fan of puns somehow.
Or have a good title to start.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got that down. And so I asked my brother, Nathan, and being my little brother, he was just like, yeah, sure. Okay. And but we needed a third host. We needed the Dot to the Yakko, the oldest, to the Wacko, the younger brother. And well, Kelly was there. Kelly was somebody I just knew online who always talked about Animaniacs and Steven Spielberg. So it was a match made in cartoon heaven. So yeah, we've been doing it for 4.5 years now. And we talked about we've had like an episode dedicated to every episode of Animaniacs reviewing it.
That's awesome.
Then we went and started talking about Tiny Toon Adventures and Freakazoid. and
Pinky and the Brain, comic book
and,
episodes.
Yeah, we've even been lucky enough to interview a lot of the people involved in the show, whether it's writers or directors, voice actors. We also have become friends with Tom Ruegger, the creator of Animaniacs, actually, and have been recording regular episodes with him, talking about the series.
Been to his house.
Yeah, we went to his house.
I didn't. I missed out on that.
Kelly was not able to attend, but we went to his house for a special recording where we reunited the Goodfeathers, the voices of the Goodfeathers. They hadn't seen each other for 20-something years.
Yeah,
or something?
Since the last episode, since the movie.
So that was a great time. So it's really taken us, to much further than we thought. We thought it'd be like 100 episodes and done.
We've done over 200 now. So.
Yeah,
wow!
And we even
you
started
went to somebody's house.
Yes.
Out of your own house, you went to somebody's house.
It was crazy. We actually left our own house. But yeah, now we're even starting our own Patreon and everything, where we have Tom Ruegger on every week to do a commentary for each episode of Animaniacs. So you can cue it up like riff tracks, and then you listen to us and Tom Ruegger talking about the episode he helped create. And it's been super crazy and fun.
What was the Hulu launch day like for you guys?
Oh, it was long anticipated. We were like, is it happening this year?
You've already done 150 episodes.
Yeah.
Now there's new ones.
Well, when we first heard about it, in 2017 or something, right? 2018, I guess, is when we heard about it.
There were rumblings in 2016.
It got announced early.
Yeah, sure. But I don't know. And then we're just they had that first press release, and then 2 years basically of silence, and we're just we could find some couple things, and we couldn't really release all of them because they would be so under the table. We did end up finding little. It was kind of interesting as our show turned into a kind of a newsy kind of show too, because we got exclusives.
But we only heard the bad stuff.
I know. It's if you got fired, then you would talk to us, and then it'd be oh, okay, well.
Yeah, exactly. So we could report little things that we hear from people that either work on the show or don't work on the show anymore.
Yeah.
And it's been a journey.
Yeah, that's so cool. Kelly, talk about joining these two gents, Joey and Nathan. What was that? The reach out and then were you immediate yes, or did you have to search their Facebook page and make sure they were legit?
No, I knew Joey through Twitter, and I think we'd seen each other at a Star Wars celebration one time, but neither one of us spoke to each other. We just kind of stared at each other.
No, what happened, Kelly, was I saw you on the escalator, and I said, hey, you're Yoda Princess from Twitter. And she went, yeah, I am. Okay, bye.
You didn't speak to me. I was like, isn't that Joey from Twitter? And I don't know.
Oh, no, I remember.
I wasn't sure if you were you. So it's hard to recognize people from Twitter.
Very true.
True.
So, no, I said yes immediately. I'd done some other podcasts here and there, mostly Star Wars related stuff. So I didn't hesitate at all. I thought it would be fun. But with the other podcasts that I had participated in, most fizzle out pretty quickly. People lose interest in editing, and it's a lot of work. Joey handles all that for us, thankfully. I just have to show up and talk. And so I joined. I'd been an Animaniacs fan since day one. I remember the commercials advertising it and the Nations of the World advertisements, and loved the song. And I watched the whole run of the original series, and my mom came home one time with the cassette of the soundtrack. And so I played it on repeat until I memorized all the songs. So just a huge fan. And like Joey said, I'm a big Spielberg fan anyway. So I knew there was quality production behind it.
Tiana says, I've never heard of Animaniacs until earlier this November when the reboot came out. I watched the first episode, immediately knew I had to watch the original before continuing with the reboot, so then went back. So good work, Tiana, there. I think a lot of people you either grew up with it or you just discovered it, but then realized, oh my gosh, there's seasons and seasons more of content that we can get to. We're going to watch a bunch of clips. We have the original voice actors behind, again, Yakko, Wacko, Dot, and Pinky and the Brain, in addition to they did Hello Nurse and Dr. Scratch and Sniff and countless other characters Maurice LaMarche did on the show. It's funny you mentioned the musical numbers, Kelly, because it's hard to pin, it's hard to describe in one sort of word what Animaniacs is. The simple way to do it is just say it's a cartoon. You know what I mean? It's a cartoon for kids, but it is so much more than that. And Jess Harnell actually gave a very beautiful description in the panel from this past weekend. So I want to show this quick clip of Jess and sort of his one sentence description of Animaniacs. And then I kind of wanted the panel to sort of weigh in on that. So let's take a look at this clip of Jess from this past weekend's panel.
You know what one of my favorite ways to sum up Animaniacs is Animaniacs was originally, sold to the world and to the networks as a kid's cartoon show. And I'm like, yeah, well, it was actually a Trojan horse disguised as a kid's cartoon show because it's a Broadway musical satire of current events masquerading as a cartoon show. And it still is, in the best of ways.
It's a Broadway musical show satiring a cartoon. And what's hilarious is Eric Connor, who's watching on YouTube, literally asked the question here about, is it in the Warner Brothers universe or is it just a parody of the Warner Brothers universe? And the answer is yes, it's both, but they didn't realize, Eric's saying here, I thought it was just like some other company making fun of Warner Brothers characters, but it is indeed a parody within its own universe, which is crazy. I don't know. Any reflections on sort of Jess's description there, being so close to heart for him?
Well, he's right. I mean, it's everything to everyone, right? I mean, it's a variety show. It's something that transcends age levels and age groups. I mean, when we were kids, it was something that we could watch as kids, but then there'd be people that are in their 30s and 40s who are enjoying it just as much.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it's a show that the writers just wrote what they thought was funny, and they didn't have an agenda of like, yes, they're going to have it for kids, but they just did what they thought was funny, and Steven Spielberg gave them the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as a kid's show because, like I said, I saw it as an adult, but I have kids and I've showed them, the show. And they fell in love with it. They thought it was cute. They thought the voices were great. They didn't get the jokes. And I don't mind that. I don't want to have to teach them what those jokes are yet. They have years for that. And it's like I'm seeing it in reverse. I saw it as an adult, but I'm showing it to them as kids.
One of my favorite episodes is Heart of Twilight. And I watched it on repeat and I loved it. And it wasn't until I was in college and read Heart of Darkness that I finally realized it was a parody of Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. And I'm sitting there in English class. I'm like, I get it even more. Like now I get the jokes behind the jokes, but it worked alone without having that frame of reference. But then it added another layer. And so you can get it as a kid or an adult.
And that's what's so brilliant about this show is that there's just something for everybody.
Totally.
It's a great point, Kelly. Just all the literary references. That's what brought me in as a kid because I was a super literary nerd. I loved like Greek, like everything starting with like Greek mythology, and they parodied that to like, you know what I mean? Again, like famous like Edgar Allan Poe. Boom, they parodied that, and really just worked their way. Sure, there was a lot of pop culture references, but there really was a lot of like literary stuff as well. Malcolm, do you have a particular? Did you watch straight through like as a kid, or did you discover it a little bit later in terms of the originals?
Going at that age with it going on at that time, I was everywhere. May have been like 6, 7 in the 90s,
sure,
whatever. So it was
jumping in the 90s. Oh my god!
Just jumping back and forth between all the different shows, but it was a staple in our house that we watched Animaniacs. And again, like Seth said, the jokes at that age went over my head, but now I go back and I'm like, but when you look at it, it's like Animaniacs was Deadpool before we really saw Deadpool in live action.
I was actually going to make that same reference too. Beat me to it.
They really broke down the fourth wall, even though Deadpool had been created.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Time. But visually on screen, that was like the beginning of the whole visual breaking the fourth wall. So now you got both of them going on the same time. It's pretty cool.
It really was a family thing. I remember I have two sisters and a brother, and it was our after school thing. Nathan, was it similar for you? Did you like remember sitting down with Joey, like watching it after school? Like I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock or something.
Yeah, I remember like rushing home from school to watch these like episodes, and not always knowing whether it would be a new episode, especially like after the first season. It would be like, oh, this is a rerun. You know, it would be hard to find the new episodes. But I just remember like also just learning so much from the show too, just all the songs and just learning the states and capitals. Even years later, where like I'm in middle school and I'm like, oh, I know all these now, like at least enough to pass the test that I can sing the song in my head a little bit. And just, that got me an A easily.
That helped me just the other day. I was in a trivia contest with my friends, and it was like at the state capitals with 5 letters in it. So I was like, okay, just give me a moment. And I started singing Wacko's America in my head until we got it. And I was like, I got it, Dover. Last one.
I've auditioned for Jeopardy twice, and so it's helped me out some. But I remember watching an episode of Jeopardy, and one of the questions a contestant said was, "What is Namibia?" And I was like, "That's not right." And my mom said, "Yeah, they said it was. You know, they said it was right." And I'm like, "That's not right." And so they came back after the commercial, and they said, "Oh, you mispronounced it. What is Namibia?" And I knew that from the Nations of the World song because again, I'd memorized the song. So I would have gotten it on Jeopardy, but.
And I learned how to burp the classics from Wacko, so that was my thing. I love all the fans. This is great. This happened on the weekend as well during the panel. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, we had like all of the Animaniacs YouTube fan groups come and just like troll and spam the chat with calls for Romy, the character Roman numeral, who was Pinky, and the brain creation, just shouting out, please shout out Romy, please shout out Romy, we love Romy, because we were talking about our favorite characters that we haven't seen yet in the reboot. We talked a ton on the weekend. If you haven't seen the whole panel, go back and rewatch it. It's in our video section. Tonight's more about like nerding out and just kind of reliving some of the best moments. But one of my favorite moments from the panel was when we asked them, a fan asked them, like, what other characters from the series besides the 3 Warners and Pinky and the Brain would you like to see return? So let's look at a little bit of clip like that, and then I encourage everyone on the panel, think about what characters you want to see come back, because that's where we're going to come back with. So, but here are the actors themselves talking about the return of specific characters from the original series. Take a look. Hope come back. I know we get Ralph, the classic.
No. I wouldn't mind doing Michelangelo again.
I'm just kidding.
I love him.
I like Miss
Gill.
I think that she was.
She don't like painting naked people. We literally like to paint naked people.
Well, Hello Nurse is not going to come back, I don't think.
What's that?
Hello Nurse is
not.
not.
I don't think so. And I understand, like Tress said earlier, times have changed. Things have changed.
Yeah.
That's what makes, in my view, the success of the show. That's a very tenuous line for Wellesley and Gabe and their crew to walk. How do we make this thing hip, not condescend in the tradition of the original show, to take the genius that Tom and his crew put into it, freshen it up, still make it edgy but not offensive? It's a very tough line, which they
and not all wokey woke either.
Yeah, I mean, not be patronizing, pandering, and it's pretty ballsy.
Or condescending, Rob? You know what condescending means, don't you?
Sorry, Tress, condescending, that means I'm talked down to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's that. No, but you know what? Maybe the end game for the guys, because it's like, as great as those characters all were, maybe their vision of Animaniacs is to have it go for several more seasons, and as those seasons develop, more.
Yeah, they may bring it back. It's not to say
nothing is. Nothing. The table, I would assume that, that why not?
Slappy seems to be very popular.
Slappy would be great. People want Romy, Pinky Suavo.
Oh, the good feathers.
Yeah,
the good feathers.
Huge. Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to work with.
I love them too.
Maurice, you were Bobby, right, Mo?
I was Squid. I was the Ray Liotta pigeon, even though I do a decent De Niro.
Ray Liotta.
John Mariano does it better, and I would love to see that. But we just, as you say, Rob, we don't write them, we don't draw them, we just act them, and it's up to the powers that be. But those would be fun ones to bring back.
Sure.
But you can bet that the powers that be, and I think Tress even touched on this earlier. Part of the reason that I finally believe is true that the show is back is because we've kind of been out there all, chumming the waters. And remember, the folks in charge now are your age, Mike. And so they're used to having social media, paying attention to metrics that Mo referenced earlier. So they pay attention. And if you got a couple 100,000 people saying, we love this particular character, it is noticed. It totally is.
There's one more character I really hope comes back. Oh, my PT pajamas, I loved him so. Give me the bird. I miss my stand. Where the hell else are you going to hear a Richard Burton impression?
Yeah. You turkey.
I'm sorry, Richard who?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's too bad because a lot of those prototypes, are people don't know who they are anymore.
Exactly, which is what's great because then they become new again.
New voices, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
You don't
All right, we've got a bunch of folks weighing in already. There are a lot of votes for Slappy. Christy Tentle says Slappy. Galactic Squid says Slappy. Sweet Engineer Strawberry, Slappy. Ryan Ross says, I'm a Slappy stan. Who else said Slappy? Council of Doom, Slappy, of course. Miley Rodriguez, Slappy. Percy Aguilar. It's all going Slappy out there. So besides Slappy, unless you really want to go Slappy, let's go around the room. Characters you would love to see return. They don't have to be voiced by the four that were on the panel, obviously, but just characters from the original series you'd love to have back. Jazz, who you got?
Good Feathers.
Yeah, Good Feathers. I like it. Joey?
The Good Feathers. Right there.
Nice.
That's who I want to see back. And of course, Slappy. They haven't even reached out to Sherry Stoner, though. She wants to work on the show. She wants to work on the show. She wrote for the show, the original. She voiced Slappy Squirrel. They never called her. So she's waiting by the phone, folks.
She won't be in season 2, but maybe season 3 we could.
Yeah, they could be saving it. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're playing the long game with us. Nathan, Slappy, Good Feathers. Are you in the
Hippo? No, I'm.
Yeah, right. Chicken Boo. No.
Oh man,
yes, Chicken Boo. More Chicken Boo.
I love Chicken.
Yeah, I love Chicken Boo. Oh man, Skippy. Bring Skippy back. I want an old Skippy. Nate Ruger.
Yes, Tom Ruger had a brilliant idea, which I love. He would love to see Slappy dealing with a Skippy squirrel living in his basement who won't move out, and she's just dealing with this
30-year-old
man child, squirrel child, man child, whatever, who won't leave, and that's aggravating her. I think that would be great too.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
If you're going to bring in somebody new, though, I would do Buttons and Mindy and have Mindy be like a tween.
Oh, kind of go through the
give her
the group
put her like 11 years old and be super obnoxious.
Like an Elmira Duff or something.
I like it. That'd be amazing.
Well, and they spoke to it a little bit about Brain. I think Maurice brings it up at one point that he seemed meaner when they were bringing him back, and he's like, I don't get it. And then he was like, oh no, like he's been trying to take over the world this entire time, and so it's just gotten to him. So I do like that idea of like, yeah, where are these characters? Let's not acknowledge the time gap or the time jump here. You know what I mean? Where are these characters so many years later? Kelly, who would you bring back from the original series?
I love the Good Feathers.
Yeah. Oh, and you did set that right beforehand too. Malcolm?
Definitely Good Feathers.
Yeah, so that's a lot of votes for Good Feathers and Slappy. We already have, again, Maurice is already involved, so you're 1/3 of the way there for the Good Feathers, which isn't bad. You know what I missed more than anything, and I think it was one of the first bits in my comedic career that I was like, this is genius. It's so simple, so smart. Was good idea, bad idea. Do you guys remember a good idea?
Yes.
I thought I would
forgot about that.
Take those to school and like say them out loud like they were like funny jokes and they were gonna like still play without the visual of, what was his name? Mr. like Skeleton or something?
Mr. Skullhead.
Skullhead. Oh my gosh. That was so good. So good.
During the pandemic, especially during like March and April when everything was locked down, every day was the same. So literally my kids and I would be like, what are we going to do tonight? And it'd be like the same thing we do every night, guys. Stay home and not get COVID.
Eric Connor said Mindy can be like a YouTuber cam girl and be like, subscribe. Okay. Love you. Bye-bye now. I like it. Joe, you mentioned about season 2. Nathan, Kelly, maybe you can weigh in as well. Counselor Doom is asking any estimated date for season 2. You guys said you have sort of some inside track. But is there anything sort of that
scoop?
You can even just say a season if you know.
Well, we can assume this year.
I think that's about confirmed.
If I were a betting man, I'd probably say fall 2021, probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were told originally they were planning it for this last season for earlier in the year, but for some certain reasons they had delays and everything. Most some was COVID and some was just rewrites or reanimation of this and that. So I would hope for the fall of the same year. I think it worked out for them. I think it works out for series now with like once you premiere a season, people kind of have that clock in their head of that's when I want to tune in again to get see it again. So that's what I think. You were mentioning Seth there, the good idea, bad idea, and we were told a while ago that there was a segment similar to good idea, bad idea that would be on the show. So maybe that'll be in season 2. Yeah, maybe that'll be in season 2 unless they just completely
cut it.
That was a while ago that we heard about that.
How do you guys feel about? Oh, sorry, Seth. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, real quick. How ironclad is their deal with Hulu, given the fact that when it was originally signed, HBO Max didn't exist, and now Warner Brothers is literally trying to promote their own app? I mean, the Animaniacs aren't going anywhere simply as long as that app exists, but what is the status of Hulu?
Well, we know that I would assume that the contract would be for at least 2 seasons, since that was the original press release was 2 seasons. Past that, I think there's a good chance that it could go to HBO Max.
And there's rumors that Hulu is interested in a 3rd season.
Yes, we were.
That's what the people working on say, that they think Hulu's interested. So it's like, but there's still no confirmation of a
Disney
3rd
now, so it just doesn't seem.
I know
it's like going on Fox Kids. Why could the Animaniacs ever go on Fox Kids?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Animaniacs does have a tendency to have a couple seasons at one place and then move someplace else. Except I don't think HBO Max is going to have the same problem as Kids WB. I think also they're going to have the Tiny Toon Adventures reboot coming out, which we just found out that I don't think any of the voice actors from the original are coming back for that one either, which is kind of disappointing. So, but I think HBO Max, I think they're going to start moving everything there as they.
There's that rumor about Batman the Animated Series to HBO Max. Continue.
Yeah. So it definitely seems like the place to be. For, and then of course, what was it? Disney Plus was going to be. It was even the rumors were that it was going to gobble up Hulu at some point too, or something.
And it's majority owned already.
Yeah, it's going to turn into the properties. The studios themselves are going to have all their own content. Right. Malcolm, what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's the thing with Warner Brothers. It's like as soon as they saw Disney making a scramble and saying we're going to take this back, we're going to take this, baby. I'm like, well, no need to have DC Universe anymore. They're going to phase that out, and they're going to push all of that stuff to HBO Max.
Well, it's like all the CW shows that went to Netflix. HBO Max didn't exist when those deals were made.
Yeah,
they're going to probably pull those too.
We're going to get a lot of new content in fall 2021, so everyone get ready.
Great. Just stay healthy and stay alive.
I know.
A lot of good stuff to watch.
A lot of good stuff coming up. A lot of good stuff. I love this. Raven1973 said, love the show. Watched it through labor and delivery of my first child in 1995.
Now you got to find the remote.
So cool. Let's watch this final clip. Obviously, one of my favorite parts, and I'm sure all of you agree, because we've all studied it extensively. We've all talked to these people on our various podcasts. It's just hearing the process of voice actors, and I even hesitate to call them voice actors because they're actors and they're just in a different setup. You know what I mean? But it's so cool to see them just talking, and then just bust into those voices. And so we did get a fan question about, since they were originating these characters and creating these characters, what was it like bringing that physicality to the role, and how much of the, what was the give and take between animator versus performer? So here's our final clip with the cast members talking about the creation of their characters and their voices. Take a look. It's really cool.
Well, they always do.
Yeah.
They always do. I mean, when you're first starting on a cartoon, this is my opinion, but I think maybe the fellows will agree, is you start off doing what you're told and what you think the producers want, and the writers eventually get to know you and your sensibilities and your sense of humor and your strengths and the impressions that you do and your sense of humor, and so they start to write to that, and so pretty soon there is the line between the character and the actor is totally gone. And so it's always kind of a joy to know that the producers will let you kind of do what you want with a character, because it is you.
Yeah, becoming you. They just naturally sort of grow into more and more of who you are and what you do. Tress said it very beautifully. And it's like what's really fun is if you compare, I've noticed some things on YouTube where they have voice evolutions of things that we've been involved in individually and collectively, where they show it where it started and where it ended up, and you're not even aware of it happening, but like these little things. I mean, when you said mannerisms, I was thinking, well, I guess Wacko never grew his hair long and wore pants with rhinestones on him, so he's not just like me visually. The little things that you do, like for instance, when we started, Wacko would just be talking like Wacko, like this. And then once upon a time, I went, I never get to get it. And he kind of went down into this other kind of, I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, they started writing more with that kind of thing that I just threw out there. And that happens for all of us all the time. And it's a very cool thing,
It is. I have that happened. The first go around, I don't even know when it happened. There was a line where Yakko was deciding something.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
and they
write it in.
And
all the time.
When it like Tress said, when it works and it works the way it's supposed to, and the four lucky people you see before you today have had way more than our share of having it work. It is seamless. And then when they start, the writers start writing for us, that's why you get something that becomes timeless, because it just seems utterly authentic. But also in this particular circumstance, remember the kids, and I mean that respectfully, the kids who are writing for the new episodes have a pretty clear idea of what these four characters are about.
Yeah.
They all know Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and Pinky and the Brain. So it was fascinating to have them write stuff that was from their perspective and their context and growing up and watching these characters. And they were, it was fun for them to plug into, I think so, Brain, but we've heard 100 of them. And what was really interesting is the times that I would look at Mo or Tress or Jess and say, ultimately look through the glass at the writers and say, I don't know who the hell Leroy Jenkins is. And why are people making a big deal of Leroy Jenkins? So they come out with technology that was not around the first time. Their phone and say, here's why Leroy Jenkins is funny.
Yeah.
It's incredible. That's what I mean. It goes back to how unique this whole circumstances.
You just set off the chat with Leroy Jenkins. Now everyone's like shouting, Leroy Jenkins.
Look out.
Leroy Jenkins!
And people want Roman numeral back. That's all people are talking right now is Romy and Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, Romy,
yeah. Maurice, you mentioned this before, Richard Burton. Obviously, it's well known that Orson Welles is the inspiration behind the Brain. So, I mean, you bring that on, and you can see it when you voice act, and it's so beautiful to see you sort of take on almost like you're doing an impression of that person that then lends itself to the voice. They must have like patterned some of the animation after you. My gosh, right?
Well, I don't know if they did. I found myself rather doing what I I began to adopt a brain face whenever I do the brain. Like I
Brain
one
face.
eyebrow and just get very, jowly and sallow and serious. The thing that they may have taken from me though is what I took from Wells, because physically Brain's based on Tom Minton, who wrote on Tiny Toons and a couple of other shows at Hanna-Barbera with Tom Ruger, and he looks like the Brain, but I had never seen him. So I saw Orson Welles when I looked at the model sheet and did that. But Welles has a moment in the Frozen Peas outtake where he goes. They're trying to figure out where he went wrong and came off the picture of the frozen peas, and he goes, "Yes, always." And I took that yes. And there's a moment in Jip Parody, Win Big, where Alex Quebec, God rest his soul, asks a Brain a question 3 times, and by the 3rd time he just goes, "Yes." And they said, "That's funny. Let's keep him always having to say yes with 3 Y's in front of it." So that may be something I did that they adapted to the character. But I more or less tried to look like Brain. Like I climb inside a Brain costume.
When you raise your eyebrow, Mo, like as the Brain.
Yes, my friend. Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
No.
Never gets old. It never gets old. Oh, I love it so much. Jazz, you laughed, you giggled there with delight at the end. It's so amazing to hear the voices. Do you have like a particular voice or favorite character, Jazz, that you like of the main?
I have to say it's probably Brain. I wouldn't be able to tell you why. There was just something very delightful about him.
Yeah. I like it. We got a lot of fun bits being mentioned that are kind of missing from the show. And, this is a fan panel. We don't have to gush over everything. So I kind of want to go around at the end here and just say what don't you like about the reboot, but what do you wish there was more of? Because there's a lot of great bits that people are shouting out, and that's what I miss. So I'll kind of kick things off. I know everyone, Joey and Nathan are like, "Oh, don't get us started." We only have
episode 211.
We only have 5 minutes. We only have 5 minutes. Listen, I think the joy of all of the actors and what I learned this week was that they are so happy to return. And I know that they are putting all of their heart and passion into it. And you can definitely feel that. I think you feel that in the characters and you feel that in the voices. Obviously, it's a completely different showrunner. A lot of people were upset at the beginning that they didn't bring back a lot of the original creators and showrunners. One of the things that I miss are like the quick variety show segues, like bits. Like people are mentioning them right now. Wheel of Morality. The mime guy, I said, good idea, bad idea. Just the quick, like in the tower bits that would always end the episode, like that really kept the show punchy. I thought it has kind of become a very long, like Animaniacs sketch and then a very long Pinky and the Brain sketch sometimes. And I feel like it's like the jokes sometimes get a little played out. And so I miss that sort of punchy, like, hey, this was 30 seconds. Who cares? It's for fun. And then we see someone else. So that's me. I don't know, whoever wants to weigh in next. And what would you like to see improve, or what do you miss?
I'll have to agree. They need to bring back some of those bits.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting into that thing that a lot of nostalgic things do. Hey, we're back. Now let's show you all. We're going to try to cram all this into one. Go look at it. And then you look at it. You want to see some more? Look at it. And then after a while, you're like, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, but it's social media buzzwords. I mean,
they just try to force it down on you rather than just do what you did. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah. Anyone else? Thoughts? Kelly, what do you think should be improved upon?
I think the songs.
Someone just mentioned musical parodies in the chat.
I was going to say something about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they have songs in the episodes, but like y'all said, the segments are long and the songs are sort of built into the segments. But like Nations of the World, it was just sort of a standalone little thing. And we're a great big universe. That was just kind of, I think, tacked at the end of an episode, and I missed that. And the songs were so great and so catchy. And the new show has some good songs too. But again, they're just within the longer episodes.
Yeah, Percy agrees with you, Kelly, in the chat right now. Jazz, you were going to say something similarly. I know you are a musician,
Yeah, I mean, I was to say, like, musical numbers would just be fabulous. I remember, like, in the panel, they were talking about how the show originally was so educational, too, in a way. Because, like, we were talking about the state capitals and whatnot, and just have more, I agree with Kelly, standalone, like, bits.
The educational stuff, too. So
that's important, especially now.
What you guys are saying is originality. I think that the big thing with it is it's like when a rock and roll band that was progressive in the 80s comes out and plays their 6 greatest songs. And yeah, we know, the Pinky and the Brain were popular and the Animaniacs are popular and they're playing the hits. But what the original show had was you never knew what was coming next.
Yeah.
And it was just predictable. And it's not a question, and I'm not demeaning your answers, but it's not the songs or it's not the plots. It's just the originality of the uniqueness of every Animaniacs episode. And these feel like what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Warner's, Pinky the Brain, Warner's, pretty much every.
Yeah. There was the first episode where they threw like a new bit at the end. I was like, what is this new animation style? I couldn't by the time it was over, I was like, I was still just trying to figure it out.
Well, and you wonder if they're being told that. They're saying, like, our research shows that this is what plays, so make sure this hits. And it's that short attention span social media mentality that I think that they're bringing to a show that was beyond that.
Yeah.
And what they were talking about too on the full panel was that they were bringing like new characters to kind of test a little bit.
They did hint
contracts.
Yeah, they did hint that the plan is to slowly roll those things out. But I think as fans, we're like, we're ready. We can handle handle more than the original 5 characters. Like, we got this.
But that's the key, though, Mike. We can.
Yeah,
that's a good point. New audience.
It's a good point.
We're not the masses.
The market now is let's get people who don't know Animaniacs to watch it, and then we'll hopefully smash them in the face with everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a kid, I didn't know anything about Animaniacs, and yet within the first week, I got introduced to the Pinky and the Brain, the Warner's segments,
Good Feathers,
Feathers, all in the first week.
That first episode had 50 characters in it. The
first episode was just like laying out, like in the Monkey Song, they're just quickly doing like essentially a montage of all the different characters that you're going to see in this season, and you kind of have that mystery and excitement of who's that guy, and not knowing anything about them. But that variety aspect, I think, is definitely is missing. As much as I know Gabe Zwar and Wellesley Wild and everything said that the thing they were looking forward to the most in this reboot was the promise of doing a variety show. I'm not necessarily sure they like the concept of doing Animaniacs, but they like the concept of doing a variety show. The show hasn't really been a variety show in a lot of ways. I think it's been self-referential. I kind of got... I don't want to go off into a monologue, but and we'll have a whole episode, I'm sure, talking about things we'll love to see in season 2 on our podcast.
Joey, this is a perfect segue. Finish your thought and then say where people can hear more about Animaniacs.
This thought about Animaniacs.
But I think above all, the thing that I'm missing, and I'd love to see more in season 2, is the heart. Really, because the show, this current season, as edgy as it feels and stuff, sometimes it just feels kind of mean. I don't know what else to say other than characters just kind of
gross.
Mean and gross. And I just kind of miss that kind of innocence kind of thing that the original had, even though it, because yes, it did have little double entendres every now and then that the adults got, but it was also, the characters were cute, and they were just kids making fun of the adults in the room, and that's kind of what I kind of miss in the new season. It's not as much that it's something different, and some people love it, and like the people in the audience were saying, it's helped introduce them. Some people are finding out about Animaniacs for the first time, which I always love. I love when people discover a new property and then they deep dive into the other stuff too, because there's so much great content out there. So I'm looking forward to whatever they got going on.
Yeah, and hopefully see it on season 2. And unfortunately, my gosh, we could talk about this all night, everybody. And totally, we're out of time. Some quick things from the chat. People, again, at the little segments with Scratch and Sniff, like moments like that. More musical numbers, a new verse of Yakko's World, perhaps. We talked about the Wheel of Morality, obviously. Just more of those quick, fun variety moments, more musical parodies. Also, Joseph Bradley loves your N64 controller, Malcolm. So there's a shout out there. Let's go quickly around the room. This is my favorite thing. Oh my gosh, your story, Joey, Nathan, and Kelly, is what Comic-Con is all about. It's what nerddom is all about. It's finding people through various nerd spots like your Twitter and then creating this cool content. And then that's what these rewatches are all about as well. And we can't do them physically right now, but even just hanging out in a Zoom call with y'all and all the fans that are watching in the chat has been super fun. So Joey, tell everybody, where can we find more of Animanicast?
Well, the Animanicast is on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. We're also a member of the Retro Zap podcast network, so you can find all of our archives over at animanicast.com, and that takes you over to Retro Zap, and you can see all of our previous episodes. We're on any and every podcast player. Just look us up. And we're also doing our Patreon. So if you're interested in learning about the show with the creator of the show, go to patreon.com/Animanicast and check it out there.
Well, I think you've got a bunch of new fans already in the chat that are going to be hopping over there. So thank you, Joey. Thank you.
I see some names I recognize.
Yeah, nice. Everybody's profile picture is a character from Animaniacs. So we've got some fans out there. I also have Bender. I have Osmosis Jones. So we got all the characters being covered right now. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Kelly, for being here as well. Seth, tell everybody about the Hall of Justice podcast.
Hall of Justice podcast. We've been around since 2015. If you're old enough to know what the Hall of Justice is, you're our demographic. We have a great show this week where the Hall of Justice is Airbnb-ing the Batcave. We've got Batman stories, including the awful ratings for Batwoman, the Michael Keaton rumors, the Batman the Animated Series rumors. We've got so many things, plus the new animated feature Soul of the Dragon. So it's all coming up on the Hall of Justice this week, and you can find it. If you can find Animanicast, trust me, you can find the Hall of Justice.
Everyone's frantically searching. That's so cool. And Malcolm, tell everyone where we can find more episodes of Fandoms Anonymous.
First of all, Seth, I'd love to appear on the Hall of Justice. I just want to put that out.
You're in. Don't worry.
I have so much to bash Wonder Woman about. Anyway,
that's another 45 minutes.
That was a fun one.
Whoa.
We don't have time.
But you can catch me at the local Walmart in the electronics section where we film our show. I'm just playing. Right here in this room, you can find us all over social media.
It's not very anonymous.
That's Fandoms Anonymous. We're here. Yeah, people always say this. Not anonymous. So, yeah, you can catch us YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and catch us on Facebook weeknights. We're starting to stream some Fortnite. So me and my trusty Dusty.
Oh, right
Mario
on, man.
I like it. Fortnite in. Very cool. Well, thanks for joining us again, Malcolm. Jazz, thanks for being here. It's so good to have you. Jazz is our director of social media. So anytime you see a post or you're interacting and you get a reply from @Wizard World, you're usually talking to Jazz. So Jazz, we appreciate you coming in and out with us. And my name is Mike G. I'm the moderator, director of programming here. If you ever have an idea for a fun panel, we do a lot of these rewatches, but then we also just have fun nerd panels about whatever topic you want. We're partnering currently with the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS on Tuesday nights for all things Doctor Who, so check that out. But any time you want to come on, just reach out to us and you'll be in touch with me. A lot of thank yous from the crowd. The Council Doom says this was so much fun. Thank you guys for this experience. A ton of thank yous. So shout out to everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We have some amazing panels coming up this weekend. We have from SNL and Night at the Roxbury, Chris Kattan. Tomorrow night, I said this a little out of order, Tala Ash from Legends of Tomorrow will be joining us for I just did an interview with her this past weekend. We're going to be airing that. So check that out. Then we've got cast members from Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis on the 30th. Dolph Lundgren, 80s action star. And then Lark Voorhees and Morgan Fairchild joining us the first week in February. So we've got nerddoms that cover all the spectrum and all the bases. So continue to follow us at Wizard World on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Shout out to Jerry Milani, who's been running the stream in the background. We love Jerry. This has been Wizard World Rewatch Wednesdays, Animaniacs, the panel. Don't forget, they will be doing their live video chats this week. So head to Wizard World Vault and wizardworldvirtual.com to purchase those live video chats. You can even do a dual live chat with Rob Paulsen and Maurice LaMarche. So my gosh, is that worth it? We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Bye.